Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. You have been muted for an uninterrupted experience. You'll be allotted time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type in your questions in the chat box or raise your hand so that I can unmute you. The duration of the presentation will be of 30 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of question and answer session. Welcome to the webinar, How to Create Great User Experiences with a Customer Portal. Today's webinar will help you understand how to move from a vision to a prototype and then further, how to maximize your customer experience for all personas involved in the buying process, why you have to focus on the full customer journey, and what a customer portal user experience could look like. Without much further ado, let me introduce our two accomplished presenters. Dan Anderson is the Head of Strategy and Solution Director for Digital Commerce in Columbus. He has over 20 years of experience in the digital commerce and technology sector. Our second speaker, Frederick Anderson, also has over 2 decades of work experience in web design, communications, and user experience. He currently works as a user experience lead at Columbus. I request Dan to start the webinar now.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Shweta. So I'm Dan Anderson, working for Columbus, and beside me I have...
Hello everyone, I'm Frederick, also working for Columbus.
The topic of today, how to create a user experience for a customer portal. So we will go one step further down into the portal from a user perspective. And the agenda for today is we'll do a short repetition of our last webinars. You may know this is a webinar in a series of 3, 4, 5. You see what's happening next. And we will also then go down to how to actually create the experience for 2021. And actually also talk about how do we get there. And then in the end, we'll talk, show you and talk about design examples regarding to a customer portal. So a short recap from our last webinars, and the headline for those have been create customer experience with a customer portal, how to increase sales and revenue with a customer portal. And so 2020 was a turning point for a lot of B2B companies. The COVID pandemic has led many B2B buyers to buy things online that they shouldn't or wouldn't have done in the past. More complicated and expensive products, for example. Social distancing have really shifted the balance of human and digital engagement in the buying process from roughly equal to a majority in digital today. And in line with that, we saw a lot of more questions, decisions, investments, upcoming and ongoing projects in the area of customer portal. And with a customer portal, we mean a solution where you map your buying process, digitizes the sales processes, that supports you in your after-sales activities and the provision of digital services. So the goal of a customer portal should then be to simplify the everyday work for your customers and improve efficiency for side of your as a seller. And the objectives that we usually see that companies have when they're aiming moving to a customer portal is increase the service for customers and thereby strengthen their customer experience, increase customer engagement, and create in a positive way, an addiction effect for customers. So that addiction effect that customers can't be without. You don't want the customer to leave you. You want them to stay. And this will lead to increase and drive your customer loyalty and increase customer lifetime value. And you will also create a relief for the service and sales organization, and create a new natural way to interact and the opportunity to increase contact with customers in all your touch points. Building a portal is like a puzzle. Based on the insights from a pre-study, you may have identified a lot of different kind of challenges. And by doing so, you also find a lot of opportunities. And regarding what functional areas you should focus on, we normally find 6 main capability pillars for a customer portal. And those are It's an intuitive order experience. Make it easy for the customer. And this is usually where you like typically place orders and find spare parts and etc. and etc. We have targeted information, for example, personalized document, detailed product information, and connected to the user, and connected to the products as well. We have the full spectrum of services and support, where all customer engagements are collected and maintained, and certainly 24/7. We also see a need of transparency and provide the customers with detailed insights, like refined customer data. And last but not least, account information, account management. And of course, all those pillars can be broken down into smaller pieces of requirements.
Yes. And all of those pieces of requirements, they have to be prioritized, laid out, and connected to your customer journey for all your customers and in all touch points. Make sure you can deliver a consistent experience that don't break for any customer. An example can be, if your customer support is great, your other channels has to match it. If not, you have a broken journey. So how do we create experiences based on the portal pillars? What do customers expect today, tomorrow, and in the future? As technology has matured, most companies can launch a functional and reliable online service for their customers. But to stand out from the competition and increase your customer engagement, you need to put the customer experience at the core of your business strategy. Can you help elaborate a bit more on this, Dan?
Yes, I will. But first, I will put up a technical question. Can you tell us that you're hearing us well as well? Can we get some feedback here from Shredder?
Yes, Dan, we can hear you clearly.
Great, because we're not seeing our mic in a good way. So thank you, Shredder. So regarding to customer experience and close to the business strategy. Yes, customer experience has to be a core part of your strategy. As a report from Walker outlines it, the customer experience becomes more important than price and product as a competitive factor. And Forbes are actually going one step further. They are saying UX is now your business strategy. And remember the objectives we talked about a few seconds ago, because Forbes are saying a killer UX is what actually created deeper customer engagement and loyalty. Meaning, a powerful and engaging UX doesn't just make your solution easier to use. It helps you to engage more deeply with your customers, ensuring they stay loyal to you rather than looking to your competition. You are creating that addiction effect. Forbes are also saying your UX also forms the heart of your competitive differentiation, meaning, for example, it's incredibly hard for other companies to match the loyalty of people who love Apple, Uber, their products, their services. Yes, I know we are not talking about Apple products here, but we actually believe CX and UX has to be a part of your core digital strategy, and especially when we come to the customer portal, as that will be a central part of your future sales and how you interact with your customer in the future, and if they will stay or leave, because you're building a portal. It could be on a local level, it could be a regional, but it can also be a global initiative, and be extremely important about the UX and how you actually are building that. Because regarding to customer portals, in almost all cases, there is, if you are ambitious, there is no out-of-the-box solution on the market with a UI that will suit you. Your customer journeys, your requirements, your UI for your customer portal is something that you create based on your insights, your knowledge, your situation, meaning UX becomes extremely important early in the transformation phase and throughout the journey. The customer and user perspective has to be there from the beginning. When you're setting your strategy, your objectives, do interviews with customers, do surveys, have the right competence in place, and have that customer focus. When you prepare for your transformation program, do interviews again, do the personas, do journeys, do prototypes, and test. So UX is not only design that you do somewhere in the project. It's a long process through your transformation journey to create that experience that customer expects and today demands. Fredrik, are you able to help me to illustrate this, where the focus shall be?
Yes, of course, Dan. If you look at this, we can look at it from this angle. This is a UX pyramid, and it's used for categorizing the user experience efforts that we do and how we can track its progress. Many companies today are able to deliver solutions that will solve specific customer needs. This can, for example, be a standalone off-the-shelf e-commerce solution. This is illustrated at the bottom part of this pyramid as something functional, reliable, and usable. As we move further up in the pyramid, levels 4 to 6, we focus more on the experience while using the solution. Looking at level 4, that we call the convenient. At this level, your customers want to use your services. They actually find situations and reasons to use it more. At level 5, we deliver a pleasurable experience. This is when customers promote, share, and evangelize your services. It becomes part of the customer's regular routine. Meaningful at level 6 is the top of the pyramid. Your customers love your service, and it brings meaning to their lives. Many budget-focused businesses only see value in achieving up to level 3, and thereby missing out on improved customer loyalty, customer advocacy, customer spend, and many other beneficial outcomes that you can get from an engaged customer. I mean, one example again is of a company rising above level 3 is Uber. I mean, taxis and cars for hire existed long before Uber. But one of the core differences that they offer is the user experience. There's been a lot of talk about their technology and the business model, but the good experience is why customers continue to use their service. So what are customers expecting today? What is our baseline for UX today, tomorrow, and in the future? When looking at trends for the B2B industry, there's a lot of similarities to what has happened in the B2C world the last few years. Users expect a high level of convenience. I mean, it needs to be personal. I mean, everyone is using Netflix, Facebook, and Spotify and things where you get served a deeply relevant and personalized experience. And it needs to be fast. And we mean quick page loads, hassle-free ordering and payment, and fast deliveries. Mobile first, of course. And it needs to be simple and intuitive to use, and of course, somewhat pleasing to look at. And what we expect to see in the very near future are things like chatbots for higher availability and a more consistent and faster help, video content to help sell your products and give a better feeling of them, video conferencing where you can educate your sales staff and your customers, recommendation, ratings, and reviews.
And Fredrik, I actually read a McKinsey report yesterday saying that 43% of all B2B revenue are done through e-commerce and video conferencing today. So we are almost there now. And what that report also was saying is that regarding to digital interaction with sales rep, the video conferencing tool have increased 41% over the last year. And regarding to chatbot and interaction with sales rep, that increased 23% last year. It actually goes faster than we anticipate. And the report also saying that less will go back to the old situation. We're actually building the new normal now.
That's quite some impressive numbers you got there, Dan. So maybe soon is now, really.
Exactly.
So if we then look at a bit more into the future, we're seeing like the use of biometric authentication, you know, like Face ID and things increase, advanced personalization, the use of augmented reality to be able to increase a buyer confidence, AI and predictive ordering.
And usually when we're talking about machine learning and AI, we talk about actually the next level of maturity after customer portal, and we actually call it a smart portal. With a smart portal, you go one step further in to UX, what the UX may offer. And that could be like more automatic reordering, predictive maintenance. And if we take an example, we have a situation of a low fill level of oil. The machine communicates this and sends data to the portal. The portal acts on that data and creates an order and informs the operator via a notification. So everything goes more automatically and makes it easier for the user. And example 2, once again, the machine sends data to the portal. Based on that data, machine learning and AI can analyze and inform that a new spare part is required in the near future. The portal sends a notification to book a service. The operator can, via an easy user interface, book that service. Not so many are here yet, but this is use cases that we will see in near future, actually. So we have a lot to think about when we are planning our future roadmap. But how do we move from this high-level roadmap to a solution from a UX perspective? And how to handle the ongoing work after going live?
Yes, so if we look at this, if we look at a good process when you start working on the UX for your customer portal, we see there are 4 key steps that you need to take. We will dig into each of these in more detail, but as an overview, you need to know your customer, who you are building the portal for, and one way of doing this is to create personas. You need to know how, where, and when customers interact with your brand today. We will look into how you can map your customer journeys. And you need to create ideas and plan on how you can move the customer experience like higher up in the UX pyramid we just had a look at. And design concepts to align with your stakeholders and to be able to test on selected users. And a good way to structure your work when you want to define your target audience is to create personas. And as you may know, personas are fictional characters which you can create based upon your research in order to represent the different user types that might use your service, product, site, or a brand in a similar way. And personas, they will give you a strategic focus when planning a portal. It will enable mapping of customer journeys and help when prioritizing content and features. And you can create personas by categorizing and group users who have similar goals and behaviors in relation to your product. I mean, you probably already know a lot about your customers, but it's always good to verify this with data insights or customer interviews. Highlight specific details and important features of the group. And some things that you need to document for each persona is what role they have. For example, in a buying process, what goals they have in the job, their expectations, their motivations, and their frustrations. At Columbus, we've identified 3 personas that we see are relevant for many B2B companies. The first one we call is the professional buyer. They need a convenient way to make large orders frequently. They might want to get an overview of their spend over time, and they also have like an objective to lowering prices or cutting costs. And then we have the field technician, which usually have like a main goal is to keep some equipment operational, and of course they, due to that, need super fast deliveries. And then we have the irregular spot buyer. These users uses your service infrequently. They might not have the industry knowledge, and they may need to get some more assistance finding the right product. And once you've defined your most important target audiences, you can start mapping their customer journeys. And a customer journey map, that's like a visual representation of a customer journey. And it's an effective way to understand your customer's behavior. It helps you to tell a story of the customer experiences with your brand across all touch points. The main reasons you should map the customer journeys are like you want to get insights on how the customer experiences your product or services in different stages. You want to engage your teams or stakeholders by creating customer-centric shared view across your organization. It's also a good starting point for innovation. How can we better fulfill the customer need in a certain phase or situation? And it's a good starting point for prioritizing your efforts. Where are the biggest possibilities or challenges in the service?
Frederick, sometimes when starting to doing those journeys, it's sometimes confusing, etc. Is there something special? And it's also hard to create those journey maps. Is there something special I should think about before starting my customer journey mapping?
Yeah, we have a few points that before you start. You need to be sure about whose journey you are mapping. Pick one of your personas, which journey you will be mapping, and the level of details of that journey. It's also important to know whether you want to base it on your experience and assumptions, or if you want to like interview your customers and things. And one last thing is to decide if you're going to map the as is behavior or the to be in the future behavior, or maybe you want to map both. And once you have a good idea of what you want to offer your customers, you need to start planning and structuring your content, both from an architecture point of view, of like which pages relate to each other, but also from a detailed functional level. It's important to serve the right content to the right user at the right time. We will look more into your content strategy in an upcoming webinar. And when it finally comes to start designing a new portal, there are a few things you need to give a little extra attention to. Of course, the design needs to reflect your brand and be appealing to your target audience, but it also needs to be modular. That means that it's based on components, so you're able to serve the right content to the right user at the right time. And it needs to be, of course, adaptive to any device your customer may use, and accessible to people with maybe disabilities. We'd also recommend you build high-level prototypes to be able to test and verify your concepts with selected users and internal stakeholders. We'll soon look more into design as we show a few customer portal examples.
One day you're up running. The fun part actually starts. Customers are starting to use your portal. And you start your work to continuously develop your solution. So you have a team working on the next release, an evolved team. You should also have a team, and they are focusing on your backlog and your next release, etc. Because it's a continuously work to refining and do even better UX and services for the customer. But to really be able to have a customer-driven development and working towards your objectives and effort goals, you should also have a team that are focused on your transformation and working towards your KPIs. And we usually call that a growth team that are working with insights. They create idealists, they prioritize. Some ideas go to the backlog for development. Some ideas goes to a test backlog where you test variants, you do A/B tests, you analyze, you make decisions. Usually team with UX, SEO, content, conversion knowledge. So the UX work doesn't stop when you actually go live with the first phase. And as a final part of this webinar, let's take a look on a few design examples for a customer portal. And remember that we're talking about a customer portal, but the same applies for if it's a partner portal, a vendor portal, or procurement portal. Frederick, over to you.
Thanks, Dan. I'll show you a couple of examples. This first one here is to illustrate that you don't have to start from scratch when launching your first customer portal. A good and a fairly common way is to build upon an existing e-commerce solution. You can start by adding services that will greatly improve the customer experience. One example seen here is to expand the My Account section, connecting services around your delivery, invoicing, and support tickets. And with notifications, your customers will be guided on what's important for them right now. And let's take a bit closer look on this. Notifications can play a key part of connecting your customers to more of your services, and by that making your company even more relevant for them. It's important that we try to simplify their daily routines and work tasks as much as we can. We need to keep customers informed about their important updates, let them take direct actions, or be able to connect with you for any questions. This will give you an opportunity to stay relevant in all touch points and channels, and your customers will never miss any important information. And with this in place, we can create the addictiveness that Dan spoke on earlier.
And Fredrik, on this screen, we have everything in Swedish and we are speaking English. But what we're saying here is some examples that your service contract needs to be renewed. Do you want to renew it? And then a small button saying yes. Make it easy for the customer to make that decision. They should like move to another kind of menu and find what to do with. And we have another example here. A reporter saying that your machine or some broken or something. Do you want to create a ticket? Yes, no. Make it easy. So notifications becomes like a way to make everything much more easy and convenient for the customer.
And yes, thanks, Dan. And here's another example of how you can like offer your customers maybe a faster buying process. This is what we're looking at now is the quick order function. Here you can allow the users to add products straight to the cart from SKU numbers. You can make large batch orders by uploading CSV or Excel files. But sometimes even B2B users need help finding the right product for them. And Dan, can you tell us about a new and exciting service that could help with this?
Yes, I actually met an interesting company the other day, and they actually combine chat, video meetings, and guided selling into what they call video shopping. I don't know if you have heard about like companies like H&M that are setting up video shopping meetings based on technical solutions as Bambuser, but this is video shopping in a one-to-one environment. Let's say that you want to buy something, but it's a complicated product. You need help because you don't want what kind of piece that you should add to your basket. And what they have done then, you know, on a lot of screens, when you're going to a commerce solution, you have a chatbot in the bottom right lower corner, and this is a similar situation. You click on that, but instead of just getting into a chat, you also get the possibility to start a video meeting, and you also get information about when is a support person or sales rep available. And if they are not available right now, you can schedule a meeting. So if you start scheduling a meeting because you don't want to wait, you get like an appointment that, okay, your meeting is scheduled for that time. And when the meeting is starting, you get into this chat environment, and you can start chatting. But you can also start that meeting from your solution, your portal, your commerce solution, and start that video meeting and really have that conversation with the people over the video. And the good thing here is also that during that video meeting, the salesperson can guide you through products because they can show you different kind of products. They can pick up different kind of products from the product catalog and help you to create your basket with the correct products regarding to your needs. So when you are finalizing that video meeting, you actually have your basket created for you, and you can start your ordering. I think this is a good way that we're combining like a portal, a commerce, a chat, video, and guided selling. I think that was a marvelous thing.
Sounds very interesting. Sounds very useful as well when it comes to B2B products that could be a bit more complicated than
exactly
in the straightforward B2C world. The next example I want to show is maybe when you want to create like a really sort of personalized and good experience, you need to ensure to include all your touch points with your brand. With a modern technical architecture, you can combine all your different systems into one portal framework. To ensure the portal gives as much meaning to your customers as possible, you need to make it highly personal and relevant. And with a personalized dashboard, each user and role can get an overview of all areas they engage with your company. You can, for example, let your customers plan and administrate their assignments, view financial data, sign up for educational trainings, view invoices, and find like any type of documents or manuals. And maybe most importantly, in the customer portal, the user will be able to search any type of content that you offer. And as Dan mentioned earlier in an example, let's say one of your customers own a fleet of machines. the user can not only view its machines, but also integrate the machine's own sort of intelligence, for example, when it knows when it's time for a service. The customer will, of course, see its unique negotiated price. I mean, we can connect products and things from the e-commerce engine and serve them to the customer. And you can see that your own negotiated price, and that can be connected to their level in the loyalty program. I mean, and you can also connect other relevant content. This can be videos, guides, and documents connected to the specific machine's service. These are just some examples of how you can improve your customer experience with the B2B portal.
So when building a portal, you can, for example, start from your e-commerce, as Fredrik was saying. You can start from e-commerce solution, expand on the area behind login. That is usually one way to start building your portal. But if you have larger ambitions, then you create a framework or presentation layer above your solutions. For example, above your commerce, above your CRM, above your fleet management, and expose those services and data into the portal, because you want to expose all that kind of services to customers. And that's why you're not taking the commerce way in that case, because you have larger ambitions. And that gives you a larger freedom for changes and growth regarding to your requirements today and in the future, and also from a UX perspective. And I think, Fredrik, we've been talking now for 30 minutes, so a short summary of what we have been looked at today, maybe.
Yes, I think we've covered a lot in this half an hour, but if we look at a bit of a summary, you need to take the entire customer journey and life cycle into account when setting up your portal, or to create a good experience at least. You need to understand where you are and where you want to be in your user experience efforts, with the UX pyramid as an example. You need to define your main target audience with personas. Find out how and where you need to improve your services by mapping your customer journeys. Structure and plan the content you will serve to your customers, and design with flexible modules. You need to prototype and test your portal before you start building.
Great. So this concludes this part. I believe we have some time for questions.
Thank you, Dan and Fredrik, for an insightful presentation. Now we are open to questions. Please type in your questions in the chat box or raise your hand so that I can unmute you. So Dan, looks like we have one question. My customers want to connect with a real person when doing business with us. Why should we invest in a customer portal?
That's a good question, and certainly that could be the case for your company and a lot of situations. But the customers are changing their buying behavior, their needs, their requirements, and studies are saying the expectation of B2B buyers are to experience a digital buying process that is like seamless, transparent, and simple, just like their ordinary B2B experience. And from at least from Sweden, I think that the latest figures I saw from November is that the B2C business is increasing, and the sales increasing like about 39%. And the buying process are moving to digital channels very, very fast, and there is a risk if you're not like continue and invest in your digital journey and maturity, that you're missing the opportunity. Yep. Anything more, Fredrik, there?
No, I think that sums it up.
Yep.
Pretty good. Do we have any more questions?
Yes, Fredrik. So one of our questions is, you use e-commerce solution or use a more ambitious solution? Do you see any problems by starting with the e-commerce solution?
It's really hard. It's depending on the case and the situation and where you want to go. If it's not about incorporating a lot of different other data and services from other backend solutions, I don't see a problem with that. So if the focus is on the ordering part, information part, and etc., I think that's fine. But if you want to incorporate more things regarding to fleet management or other things, then that could be like a stop for you somewhere. And it also, but on the other hand, but you can start there, and then in a second or third or fourth phase, you can build that presentation layer above what you have built in the e-commerce solution later on, and then incorporate. So I will not say it's a dead end. Certainly not. It could be a good start for you, but it could also be a good start to building that presentation layer in the first phase, because that gives a larger possibilities today, and that is more regarding to technology today and the maturity and the change we're seeing in the change in business models, the need of that it gives an freedom building the presentation layer framework above the solutions. So there are possibilities in both ways. More
All right.
questions?
Yes, Dan. So another question is, we have a legacy solution that is not supporting a strategy to build a customer portal. How do we start this journey?
I don't know exactly what kind of legacy system you have, etc. But today there are new technology and new ways to integrating data and services into new kind of services. It's changing quite a lot. We are not building the tight integrations that we did before. Usually companies are building up what you call contracts between like a front-end layer and a back-end layer, and building those contracts with APIs, and that are open up possibilities to integrate system in an easier way than it did before. I don't know exactly if that is the question, and what kind of legacy system you want to integrate. But I think there are huge possibilities today, because when we're talking about portal, it is very much to take the services and data from systems in the back. That it could be like the ERP, the CRM, fleet management, and take that data services and expose that to the customers. Sometimes there may be limitation in legacy systems, yes, but I think there may be possibilities as well.
Okay, Dan, the next question. What are the requirements on underlying applications when building a layer on top of them? Like headless, single sign-on between application, etc.
Can you take that question one more?
Yes, Dan. What are the requirements on underlying applications when building a layer on top of them? For example, headless, single sign, or between applications, etc.
I would say that I'm not maybe the right person from an architectural way to maybe answer that question, and maybe not Fredrik as well. But certainly the thing is about that kind of backend or solution, etc., that they can talk through APIs and etc. I think that is the minimum. But please reach out to me, dananderson at columbus.com, columbusglobal.com, and we can have that discussion afterwards, so I can give a more right answer actually. More questions?
Yes, we have another one. I think this is for Fredrik. How do you drive a customer portal UX initiative in a COVID environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. When we maybe have a hard time to meet both our clients and maybe their customers, but we're using a multiple of digital services that help us to collaborate with our clients. For example, we have some online workshop and brainstorming services where all participants are able to add their ideas to a board, like using virtual post-its, and you can vote on those post-its to get decisions made and things like this. And we have design and prototyping tools that makes it sort of very easy to share and comment on designs and even test on real users. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Anything more, Shweta?
I don't see any more questions, Dan. So I think we are done with the questions. So Dan, do you want to tell us a bit about the upcoming webinar?
Yes. In a couple of weeks, actually, I think it's 11th of February, we'll have the next webinar in this area, and we will talk about how to succeed with targeted information in a customer portal, how we build a structure so we actually are able to do that. So we go deeper into the content part of that webinar. And I will do that together with one of my colleagues, Mikael Bossel, that is a specialist in information and content for both larger corporations and mid-sized companies in all ways. So yeah, 11th of February, and we will send out the information about that later on.
That sounds interesting. Thank you, Frederick, and thank you, Dan, for this amazing webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. An email with the recording of this webinar will be sent to all our registrants very soon. Thank you very much.
And thank you from Dan.
And from Frederick.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.